Okay. Hi. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Halpaus. I'm here with Brother Ian Lum. We're in St. Cloud, Minnesota, making an education video for our Grand Lodge Education Committee. I want to thank you again for tuning us in. If you want to enjoy a little time in your own hometown or a city that you happen to be visiting, just go for a walk around town and take a look at the architecture that you can find on some of the older buildings that are in a town or a city. We kind of hoped to be outside to make this video today, but because of the weather, we're indoors, and a brother of ours, Worshipful Brother Dennis McQuay, has allowed us to use one of his buildings here in St. Cloud to make this video. To get back to what I was going to talk about, going around town looking at architecture. I've done that in quite a few communities in my travels. And today, Brother Ian and I are here in St. Cloud, as I mentioned. But it seems that no matter where you go or how big or small a town that you might be in, you can find something interesting in architecture to take a look at. The Corinthian is considered a masterpiece of art, and it was invented by Callimachus in Corinth. I know that you've heard the name Callimachus before. Our degree work is worthy of study because it doesn't teach history. It contains allegories, allegorical stories. Nor does it teach nor does the second degree teach architecture. It tells us just a little bit about Callimachus and how he took the hint of the capital of the Corinthian pillar by passing by the tomb of a young lady. The Encyclopedia Britannica says the very same thing. You might find that interesting. If you look it up, it'll ring true with our lecture, the Middle Chamber lecture. However, other places the information goes deeper, but still we don't know a whole lot about Callimachus. So researching him is interesting. Now, here are what some of the sources I have used say about the Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian orders of architecture. A vigorous northern tribe of Greeks called Dorians apparently invented the Doric order. The first construction had sturdy columns of 5 to 7 diameters in height. Now, that's the diameter of the base. That's the diameter at the base of the shaft. But the column itself is erected without any base. The Doric columns are always without a base, and the Doric has a cap of great simplicity. Its beauty was the abacus, which is a square block above a curved molding. The entablature was composed of 3 members: the architrave, the frieze, and the cornice. The Ionic has a curious and beautiful capital with delicate spirals called volutes as its main feature. The columns have bases and capitals and are more widely spaced than the Doric. The Doric was likened by the ancients in its vigor to the masculine form, while the Ionic in its grace represented the feminine form. The Corinthian, which was invented by our friend Callimachus, was the last in origin, and it was little used by the Greeks. It was used more frequently by the Romans. The Corinthian is similar to the Ionic, but its column is more slender, and the capital, which is shaped like an inverted bell, is richly decorated with acanthus leaves, arranged below 4 small protruding volutes. The oldest known Corinthian capital found is in the Temple of Apollo at Bassae, and is dated at 427 BCE. The Corinthian is also sometimes called a feminine order because it is many times on the top level of a building, like in the Colosseum. and holding up the least amount of weight. The columns of all three orders were decorated with vertical grooves or flutes. In buildings, one order was generally used exclusively, but there have been instances where different orders were combined in one building. There were generally two types of public buildings from 700 to 400 BCE, temples and theaters. Temples were composed of a rectangular form, and theaters were usually semicircular. To learn a little bit more about the architecture that we talk about in the middle chamber lecture, I'd recommend two books. One of them is the first one I recommend is the Masonic Manual of Minnesota, where you can read about the orders of architecture and Callimachus as it's presented in the middle chamber lecture. And you can find that online at the website for the Grand Lodge of Ancient, Free, and Accepted Masons of Minnesota. It's at www.mn-masons.org. The second is a book that I picked up at Barnes & Noble some time ago, and it's called The Grammar of Architecture, and it's written by Emily Cole. In closing, I'd like to mention something that Callimachus wrote. Like I mentioned, there's information to be found on him, and he wrote this during his lifetime. And we'll try to read it correctly. It says here, 2 goddesses must now Cyprus adore. The muses are 10, the graces are 4. Stella's wit is so charming, so sweet her fair face. She shines a new Venus, a muse, and a grace. That was by Callimachus. Brother Ian and I want to thank you for watching. Stay healthy and enjoy looking at the architecture and the places you happen to visit. Thank you so much. So long.